The Hitman's Bodyguard is now in theaters. It stars Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, but they're not Deadpool and Nick Fury.
Which disappoints Leo almost as much as I disappointed myself last night when I couldn't get it up. The Hitman's Bodyguard is a rather convoluted plot, so we'll try and explain as best as we can. Ryan Reynolds plays a bodyguard who used to have AAA status but is now demoted. In order to get his status back up, he decides to guard the famous hitman played by Samuel L. Jackson, who needs to go into international court to testify against a Belarus dictator who's been killing his people. On the way, they discover hijinks, figure out what the heck love is, and decide they might actually kind of like each other on the way.
You know what this movie reminds me of? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, except instead of a guy and his wife, it's two dudes who don't like each other, but then they sort of like each other, and then they make up, and then they fight, and they make up. It's absurd. It's this weird concept that's super convoluted plot-wise, just to make the super convoluted plot works. First of all, both of them have a romantic interest, and the romantic interest is exactly what's driving them into their situation. And on top of that, you have this other layer where there's this international dictator who murders people, who's being on trial, and for some reason, he's Eastern European, but the assassin who knows all about his stuff is from America. Does that make sense to you?
No.
Meanwhile, this dictator has all these assassins just perusing, going around the city like there's no one's business with these machine guns and they're badass big Russian dudes. It makes no sense. Like, really, you got all of those weapons into the country just to murder this one guy and you can't do it?
One of the odd things about this movie is that it dedicates a significant portion of its time to talk about love in the most unlikely places ever. And rather than feeling kind of heartwarming, it feels sort of shoehorned in, as if Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds have nothing else to talk about except their respective girlfriends, and how much Samuel L. Jackson loves banging a girl while violence is going around. It feels kind of shoehorned in because they couldn't think of anything else that these two could talk about, which is a shame because they have a rather natural chemistry about themselves that lends it to comedic moments.
They have these weird moments that devolve into this philosophical debate about what is good and what is evil. Because Sam Jackson's character is like, are you really good? Because I only murder bad guys. Meanwhile, you don't kill, but you only protect bad guys because they pay you. Who's really the villain here, huh? Who's the villain now, Flash? Huh? Who's the villain? Sorry, that devolved to another show.
There's a lot of small inconsistencies like this that just feel incomplete or not hashed out. And the main reason is because you've got these two big stars and they think that these two are just going to pull the movie up. And they kind of do, but just the rest of the movie just seems kind of lacking. The plot is rather convoluted. We think some of the things they talk about is rather boring. The only thing that they are able to do is drive a Ford Focus out the window and right into a concrete wall. And I give them props for that.
This movie's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good action scenes that are just fun to watch. And if you like comedy, there's a lot of good humor in this. Samuel L. Jackson just walks around yelling mother at everyone, and it's kind of funny. And Ryan Reynolds is just an exaggerated version of Ryan Reynolds, where he's walking around just dishing out quips and burns here and there. It's sort of like his National Lampoon's character.
So overall, we think this movie is kind of fun, but it does lack a little bit in the plot segment and in some other areas too. The one saving grace is indeed Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds, who pulls the movie out into some comedic aspect. So we give it a 7 out of 10, or more importantly, I give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. Is this some kind of masterpiece of filmmaking and storytelling? God, no. Is this movie a lot of really stupid fun? Yeah, it is. So if you want a lot of really stupid fun, go see it. If you're looking for something a little better, God, no.
Hitman's Bodyguard. Stupid fun.
Gives you shit. You make Kool-Aid.
Life doesn't usually give you shit and then turn into a beverage.
Breaking news. We have a nice kitty cat inside of our studio. She's quite adorable, but she doesn't love me. More on that in 5 minutes. And now, the plot summary.